Back in the garage today, back in the garage today. What's going on, guys? Back in the garage today, getting ready to work on my 2021 KTM 890 Adventure R. We just got back from Alaska earlier this week. While we were up there, the fork seals were leaking a little bit, and I just want to go ahead and put some fresh fork seals, bushings, and oil in. Plus, this thing's now got over 12,000 miles on it. They have not been the easiest miles, as most of them have involved some sort of off-road. So we're going to show you how to rebuild them in today's video. Okay, guys, before we get started, let me show you what parts you're going to need. This is the factory seal kit, so you can see the part number on there. I'll link this down in the description below. This is the OEM bushing kit, same thing, that'll be linked below. The service manual does call for 4-weight. This is a container I've had for a while because I've done some jobs on the 1290s of both mine and some friends. You can also get it for Motor X, 4-weight fork oil. I'll switch over to this once I'm out of this. I'll link this down in the description below too. You could probably get away with 5-weight, but these are the parts you're going to need. Any sort of specialty tools, I will link those as we go along too. Okay, so before we start removing anything, first thing we want to do is make note of where our compression and rebound is set. So over here on the left fork, white knob, this is your compression. So I'm just going to click it on down in, figure out how many clicks out I am, and then we're going to spin these all the way out, you know, counterclockwise. So let me see where I'm at. So I am 15 out. So all I'm going to do now, I don't have to count anymore. I'm just going to spin the clicker all the way out, and I'm obviously going to write down 15 for compression so I don't forget that later. I'm going to do the same thing on the rebound side. Okay, so now that we know where our clickers are, we're going to take a 10mm socket and we're going to hop on the top triple clamp here, and we're just going to back both of these off, loosen it up. Okay, so with the triple clamp loosened up top, we are going to grab, in my case I have a Tusk 50mm wrench. We are going to use that on the top cap. And all we're going to do is just loosen this up a little bit. We're not going to take it all the way off. We're just going to loosen it. It makes it a whole lot easier while it's in the triple clamp to loosen it than it does once we have the fork off the bike. All right, the next thing we want to do is we need to remove the front fender, or in many of your cases, it's going to be the front fork protectors. Because we were on a big cross-country trip, we decided to go with the low fender with the integrated fork protectors. If you have the high fender on, you can leave the fender alone. You just need to remove the fork protectors. In either event, it's just 3 Torx 30 head screws that you're going to remove. In this case, we're going to take the 3 out on this side, and I say 3. There's 3 on each side. I've got to take all 6 out in this case. Otherwise, whichever fork you're working on, you can just take that one off. Obviously, you can see these things, they got really dirty on this trip. So now if we take a look at the setup here, I've got a rear wheel stand or paddock stand, whatever you want to call it, in the back. I have a lift here under, or not a lift, but a jack here under the skid plate with a board to kind of displace the weight a little bit. Found this works well for me, but either way, you need to get the bike supported. Okay, so your next step is to remove the front wheel. I'm not going to show you how to do that in this video because I've already made that video before to show you how to remove the front and rear wheel and how to reinstall it. So I'm just going to link that up there. Go check that out if you don't know how to take the front wheel off, and then we're going to come back to removing the left side fork. Okay, so we obviously have the front wheel removed. Next, if we take a look over here, our brake line and ABS, it's really just our brake lines held in there. We just need to undo this clamp with an 8mm. I believe you can also use a T30 Torx bit. Just watch the nut that's on the other side there that just fell. We just need to undo that. You're going to let it hang, or you can set it up on something if you're worried about the tension on it. You don't, we're just going to go ahead and take this thing all the way off, just so we don't have to worry about it getting in our way. And now, I believe the top ones are pretty loose. We're going to come down here on the bottom, pinch bolts on the triple clamp, 10mm, and loosen that one up. And then we just want to make sure we're holding on to it. It may fall out of place if we don't, we'll see. Usually they're kind of packed with dirt and they don't want to slide out real easy. Okay, so with all the pinch bolts undone, and then it's just twist it down out of there. And we've got the first fork removed. One other thing, one point I should have made before taking the other fork out, but we still have the right fork in, is see what line your fork's on. If you like that setting, just mark that down. That way you remember when you go to put these things back in once we're done rebuilding them, that you get them to the same height that you've got them at currently. All right, so next up we're going to need a Torx 20-bit, and we're going to remove the clicker. And just set this aside for safekeeping for right now. We're going to go back to our 50mm wrench and go ahead and spin the top cap loose. And now I'm going to just go ahead and take this over here to my drain pan and let the oil drain out of here. Alright, so I did this off camera. It's kind of a pain in the butt part. You need to hold this up, pull the spring down, and then I've got a 24mm open end wrench on here. This is a skinny one. This isn't your normal size one. These things come in really handy when you're working on forks. I'll try to find one like this and link it below. Then we're gonna come back to our 50mm. See if we can, okay, it wasn't on there too tight. And we're gonna go to spinning this top cap off. All right, we're gonna set that to the side. Obviously the damning rod just fell down in. You can pull the spring out, and then we can dump the rest of the oil that's left in the fork over in our drain pan. All right, so with the fork clamped into some soft jaws here, we're going to take a 7mm hex. Get this bottom bolt out. You're probably going to have a little bit of oil, fork oil still in here that's going to seep out of the bottom, despite the fact that we've drained it. It's out of there. It's loosened up. We ought to be able to pull the cartridge out now. And that screw should come out of there. So next up, we want to get to working on the seals here. So we're going to come over here to the dust boot. Just get a small screwdriver. Start to work this. Should be able to slide that out. And then there's a lock ring in here. It's going to be a little hard to see, but we're going to use a pick to get it out of there. Just be careful. You don't want to scrape up your fork tube or ding it or nick it or anything. Sometimes a screwdriver works a little better. There we go. Work the lock ring around, get it out of the way. Now we should just be able to hammer pull this thing apart. There we go. Let me get this thing locked in the vise here and show you what's next. All right, so we're taking a look at the fork here. We're going to remove the outer bushing. Just get a fingernail or something in there. Sometimes that doesn't work. You need a little screwdriver. Oh. These bushings actually look like they're in pretty good shape, but we're going to replace them anyway. And lay these things out on your bench in the order you take them off so you don't forget how they go back together. And you get your inner bushing, you got your stop ring, you got your seal, you got your lock ring, you got your dust cover, and then your little guide ring here, this rubber piece. All right, next thing we're going to do, the outer fork tube, the cartridge, everything. I'm going to walk outside. I'm going to take some brake clean, some paper towels. We're going to clean everything so it's as shiny and as clean as can be. Then we'll come back in here and start the reassembly process. All right, so with everything cleaned up, we're going to take this bullet tool from Motion Pro. You can use a saran wrap or whatever you want. The big thing is you got this ridge on here that we're getting ready to slide the seal and everything down over, and we don't want to take the chance of cutting it or nicking it in any way. Take a little bit of fork oil, it doesn't really matter what kind, just for some lubrication there. And now we're going to break into our seal kit from KTM. I do want to give KTM credit. Their old packaging really sucked, and basically you had to cut into it. You don't have to anymore. It looks like, no, I got two of these. If you want to install this one, this is just your guide. You can throw that down on there. Then we're going to grab our dust boot. As we're doing this, just grab a little bit of fork oil just to, you know, lubricate the inside of it. Slide the dust boot down. We're going to go to our other packaging. So if you didn't order a bushing kit, you're going to have to reuse your snap ring and other stuff that you just already. No, I take it back. It comes in. It does come in the seal kit. So we need to open up this package. Get our snap ring thrown down on. Next, we're going to grab a seal itself. You want to make sure the whatever you want to call it, the fatter end is pointed up. There's also a little metal spring around here that'll be pointed down. And we're going to go back into our packaging here and grab the stop washer. Drop that down on, and then if you are replacing the bushings in your bushing kit, you're going to grab your inner bushing first. It slides down on, and then you take your bullet piece off, and then you're going to grab your outer bushing. Just going to pry it open a little bit. Snaps on. Done with this. I'm going to throw the old stuff away now that we've got everything back in the right order, and we're going to get to reassembling the fork. Alright, so with the inner fork tube just slid into the outer fork tube, we've got our dust cover and our lock ring down here out of the way. I'm going to use this seal driver. Now, I've had people comment, oh, there's other methods. There are. I used to use them. I'm telling you, it's a heck of a lot easier and a heck of a lot safer just to go with a seal driver, especially if you own a bunch of motorcycles like I do and you're constantly rebuilding forks, whether it's for racing or whatever. So this is a 48 millimeter seal driver from Tusk. There are other ones available. I'll link this one down below. And all you're going to do is drive this seal, and you just heard it bottom out down into place. You'll know for sure it's bottomed out after you take the driver off. And then what we want to do is our lock ring should snap down into place. If it doesn't, then chances are you didn't get it down in there far enough, but I believe I heard it. All right, so do a visual inspection to make sure it snapped into place. And then really you can, if you want to get the dust seal on, you just mash it down in there. Next, we're going to clamp this back into the soft jaws because we've got to get the cartridge reinstalled. Alright, so with our cartridge, and this was cleaned up too, we're going to slide this back in to the tube. Make sure it's seated down in there. Then we're going to grab our 7 millimeter hex that we took out. There is an O-ring around here. It's a good idea to put a little bit of lubrication on that. I did off camera. And just want to start to get that in. Alright, so with that screw in there, next thing we want to do is get this torqued down to 25 newton meters. That's it. Alright, so this next part is fairly straightforward. There is a special tool to hold this down. We don't really need it. We're going to dump 630 milliliters. I only have 330 in here right now. I'll do that and then add another 300 down into the fork. I'm just keeping my finger on top of the little dampening rod here. It doesn't move up. Now you guys are going to notice this is red and the other stuff was kind of clear. Same weight, same everything, just this just got a little coloring in it. And that is plus or minus 5 milliliters. So do a little less, that's okay. Do a little more, that's okay. Now we want to work this up and down. You'll hear the bubbles. Just get the air worked out of it. Okay, so without the specialty tool from KTM, we've just got everything locked in the vise here. And we're just going to pull down a little bit. And all we're trying to do is just get this cap started. And then we're going to spin this on down. Once we need to tighten it, we'll get that 24 millimeter. See, now it's starting to turn. We'll get the 24 millimeter wrench back out. Pull down. Get our 50 mil. slipped off there. Anyway, we're gonna tighten this back down. It's supposed to be 25 Newton meters. There's no torque wrench that I have for this, so we're just gonna tighten it. All right, last part, slide the fork tube up. I say the last part, almost the last part. All right. Okay, so with the clicker tightened back up, I thought I was recording. Spin it all the way down, and then spin it back out the number of clicks that you wrote down earlier. In my case, it was 15. It's 15 clicks back out. Fork number 1 is done. Okay, so we're gonna take our fork and we're gonna slide it back up into the triple clamp. Sometimes they go real easy, sometimes not so much. All right, so this took me a little bit longer than I wanted to. Basically took all the bolts out on the triple clamps. It's just fitting in there really, really tight. Wedge screwdrivers in. We're gonna work this up. Now it's working pretty easy, and I'm just gonna get it set to the line or the height, however you wanna look at it, that I want it at. All right, so with them snugged up, we're gonna grab our 10 millimeter on our torque wrench. We're gonna torque these down to 15 Newton meters. And we're gonna go back and forth a couple of times because the metal will stretch. And then we're gonna get the bottom 2 bolts at 12 Newton meters. Now, because we still have the other fork hooked up here, we're gonna go ahead and just take a look here at our little clamp that goes around here. Go ahead and get this set up at about the right height. It calls for 1 Newton meter, but just tighten it up, it'll be fine. It will make it a little bit easier if you just get a bolt in to help hold it. Okay, so with the left fork tube back in the triple clamp, torqued down, we got the brake just, with a bolt in there, and then we got the brake line affixed. Next thing we're gonna do is remove the right fork. I'm not gonna show you how to rebuild that one because it's exactly the same as the left fork. There is absolutely no difference. Follow the same instructions you just saw. The only difference is it's got a little red clicker because it's rebound versus compression on the left-hand side. It's exactly the same process, same amount of oil is going in it, change nothing, just pretend like you're doing the same fork you just did. I'm gonna do that off camera, and then when I come back, I'll show you the final fit and finish, and we'll be done. All right, you can see, got the other fork rebuilt, got them both on the bike now. Obviously, I switched back from the low fender back to the high fender, so I got the regular fork guards back on, just 3 bolts on each side. The only thing you want to be careful of and just check, and again, if you don't know how to install the wheels, I linked that video earlier, check your brake lines and also the ABS wire here. Make sure they're in a good spot. Compress the suspension a few times. Make sure you don't have any binding and you're not going to have any issues, because you can always adjust the screw here to give yourself a little bit more slack where you may need it. So just be cognizant of that. All right, guys, so that is how you rebuild the forks on a KTM 890 Adventure R. This is a 2021. It's gonna be the same as any of the bikes that have the Explorer fork on them on these mid-size adventure bikes. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, well, this is the place to be. If you have any questions about anything, let me know down in the comment section below. Also, check the description. All the parts, specialty tools, all that's linked below. Use those links. It does help out the channel, so I appreciate that. It also helps you out because you'll have the parts you need. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon.